Welcome to the CMO Spotlight, and I'm here today with Michael Engleman, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for SHOWTIME Network.
Risk gets harder to take as you sort of go along, and so don't be afraid to assess and evaluate the path you're on and make changes if you need to. But if there's something that you know you can be excellent at, or something that you just have a desire to pursue, making those changes or adjustments to career path, you certainly can do it at any phase, I believe, but it's a more of a high wire act the older you get. You got personal responsibilities. Yeah. You start to become branded. You have a personal brand. You get seen a certain way, and there are all sorts of challenges. And change is difficult regardless. But I do encourage people who are starting out to sort of be honest with themselves and unafraid to make change if they need to. The other thing is, the career path you start on. I think this is I am not unique in this, but these careers are not a trajectory. You're not going to just move sort of upward the whole time. You're not on a climb up a hill. There are valleys, and you need to be prepared for them. And you would be the real exception. One would be the real exception to have a career that did not have failure and setback, and you got to bake that in. A lot of us don't understand the value exchange we have with our employer. How do you understand that? How do you articulate that? How do you advocate for it in a way that I think is honorable and has integrity? I'm pretty good at making complicated things simple and finding ways to communicate complicated concepts in ways that have sort of precise impact, that have an emotional hook or make business sense. I love language, and I love storytelling, and I love applying that to my job in a way where I take what is a very complex organism. Marketing is a complex function, but ultimately what needs to come from it needs to be very rudimentary and simple. And so I do try to sort of serve that as CMO. I think integrity is an incredibly important value. I think human decency, we spend more time going through the processes we use to deliver a product than we do with the product itself. And we spend more time with the people who are part of those processes, and we need to do it in a way that's human and decent and full of integrity. I also am attracted to professionally and personally expertise. I love people who have subject matter expertise and are deep divers and really want to understand what they do for a living, understand the ecosystem in which they work. And, I also like well-rounded people. I do encourage people not to just be work monsters. Let's be experts at what we do, but have interests elsewhere. And I think that's really important. And I think that makes people more innovative and creative and more motivated. And it makes for a richer work experience. And so I like people who are deeply interested in what they do, but not at the exclusion of everything else in the world. One of my big career learning experiences was I rebranded the Sci-Fi Channel, changed its name, which was a highly controversial and in some corners criticized brand evolution. The commercial impact was actually quite successful, and it was a global rebrand. For me, it was like fascinating experience personally, because I had not done a lot in the international space until that point. So to think about how an entertainment brand balances a global brand ethos with the appropriate amount of regional iteration in terms of how we roll out from the US to many territories, all with different interests and appetites and relationships to media companies. How do you do that in the right way? And that was such an enormous initiative. We were taking a brand that, in those days, in the sort of ad-supported cable universe, was doing just fine, and changing from a position of success and taking what was the SCI-FI channel, which was a category generic and unownable, to a new bespoke spelling. Well, I think it worked. I think, I learned a lot about the branding experience. I learned a lot about the global experience. I learned about how important it is to tell a brand story in both your sort of business to business ecosystem and your consumer ecosystem. And it was just a big, complicated project that I think in many ways worked. And in some ways, I'm sure we could have done things differently. I sort of live and breathe movies and television. There's a ton that has inspired me. What has been really fascinating is, I'm a big music fan. I have a 7-year-old, and we just watched the Beatles doc. It was just so fascinating how riveted he was, this canon of music for the very first time. And it meant so much to me. It still does, but I hadn't really been thinking about it actively. And then here I was seeing somebody just be absolutely riveted by the creative process. And what I've loved about my career as a marketer in media and entertainment is that this creativity in what I do, but I also have proximity to people who are like thoroughbred creative thinkers, and watching the creative process and watching how people develop content and do it at such a high level has always been I find that so inspiring. And it can be, it could be somebody who's like working on like the next sort of AR app. It could be the next big scripted series, but watching creative people do creative is inspiring.